Hey guys, AJ with Relentless Racing. Welcome back to the channel. So tonight I'm going to be working on showing you guys how to put together the PCI MRS slider seat mount assembly. Here's everything that it comes with. In addition, I have the seat mount base, which is over in a different area, but pay attention to these instructions, and this is really what will make all this easier. But I'm going to go over every piece of this thing, but if you ever get lost, check this thing out, okay? So first thing we're going to talk about is these are the slider assemblies right here, and sometimes it's confusing to look at these things, but to figure out where the top and the front is, when you have three holes right next to each other, like right here, that is the top of it. And then you can also identify it because there's a spring right here. So wherever the spring goes up to, that is the top part. And also this is the front part of it. So this is what it looks like. So this would be the right side of the seat. This would be the left side of the seat. So let's open this thing up. And what we need to do is we need to slide this piece out, and we're going to be putting these guys into those two holes. So again, this is the top because it has the three holes next to each other. On the bottom, they're in a weird configuration. We'll go over that a little bit later. So to do this is we kind of have to compress this spring right here. You have to push this section down, and then this middle section right here, you'll see as I flip it over right here, I want to push right here. You kind of have to apply that Kung Fu grip on there, and then you could slide the bottom part. So that's the bottom. So I'm going to squeeze right here. Kung Fu grip, and now it moves like that. And once it's out, whoops, I want to go the other way. Once it's out right there, now look, I can put this guy in like that. And then I'm going to flip it over, and then I'm going to squeeze the spring again right here. And this little piece right here is going to squeeze over in here, look, like that. You got to really give it Kung Fu grip, and then you can slide the other piece with your hand. And now, that thing's still there. Now I can put another one right in here. Okay, and I'm going to put it upside down again, and then I'm going to squeeze this, and then I'm going to put it back to its regular position. So now those things can't fall out, see? So there they are right there. So you're going to repeat that on the other one. And then remember I said that this is the front because that's where these little two doohickeys are. So per the instructions, the side mount, the front of the side mount has to be the slots. And if you notice, they're in a particular way here. So this one, is it this one? No, this is the wrong side. This one right here should be correct right here because this is the actual right side of it. That's just like right there. And this angle has to go in that way. So this would go in just like that. See that? Just goes in like this. But for those of you that are using the factory seatbelt buckle, and again, you should only be using this for the reclinable race buckets, right? Fixed back seats, you should not be using this. But if you have a reclinable and you're going to use the factory seatbelt buckle, you need this bracket. So you'll need to add this. This is a little spacer. And then you're going to add this guy back here. And then it goes like that. Everyone see that? And then we're going to grab some washers. Yeah, they're 5/16. So we're going to put the 5/16 washers on those guys just like that. Let's put these like that. And then you're just going to grab these nuts right here. And then I'm just going to put these on by hand. We'll put two more over here. One more right here. This style of wrench will save you, by the way. If you notice, it is a ratcheting section in the open section right here. So I'll show you why this was going to be advantageous later. So now I'm just going to tighten these guys down. But I want to make sure that this thing can still slide like that. Let's tighten this other side over here. Still move this stuff around over here. Okay, it still moves. Okay, so you can see the lineup right here. Again, if you're using the factory seat belt, you'll need this bracket and this spacer. If you don't need it, don't put that in there. All right, so that will be the right side. Okay, this is the other side. You can see that I have the right side finished up already. If you notice, I already put the little doohickeys in here. So don't forget to put the spacers on there. And again, these spacers are only if you're using the factory seatbelt buckle bracket. If you're not using that, if you're using a 6-point or a 5-point harness, you don't need these. And then so for the other side, remember, per the instructions, understand which way that this bend has to go. So this goes to the inside, and then the slots go to the front. This is the front, the slots are the front, this goes that way. So I'm going to put that on just like that. There we go. Okay, so now we've got both of these guys. All right, guys, here is the seat mount base, and you can see that I have the harness bar right here. This uses some M10 bolts. So attach this on with the M10 bolts. I put the head up at the top, and then you'll see the nut at the bottom. There's the nut at the bottom. If you notice, there's a washer above the nut and right below the head. So torque that down. I'm going to use 55 foot-pounds, and you could use the German spec if you'd like, but I'm going with 55 foot-pounds. So here you can see that I have the side mounts attached to the seat. The slider assembly is loose. Same goes for the other side. Here's the other side right here. You can see that it's attached and it is flush to this side of the seat. And again, the slider is loose. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put the seat mount base on here, and we're going to figure out which holes in the seat mount base we can use. Here's the seat mount base, and I'm going to slowly put this thing on here. And what we're looking for is there are 3 rows of bolts here, 3 rows of bolts here. We need to figure out which rows are going to fit for us. And so what you want to do is you want to slide this thing around and figure out which holes we would fit in. In my particular case, what I do is I take one of these guys and I put it in the slot. And it goes like that. And then I'll put the other ones in the slots as well. So now you can kind of see how these things move. Not only does this thing move, so I'm going to try and center this, the seat base mount, and then I'm going to try and push these guys, because they are loose, the slider assemblies, to where they need to be. So I could see, oh, if I adjust the slider base, there it is. So now it looks like I line up on the inner holes, and so that's where I'm going to mount the sliders to the seat mount. So let's take this all off, and then we will mount just the slider assembly to the seat base. Okay, this is the seat mount base. So this is the inner corner on the left side of the vehicle. This is the front of it. Here's your harness bar. And here are slider assemblies with side mounts attached to them. Notice they're still loose. So let's just work with one. And we already determined that we're going to use this inside row here and this inside row here. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to expose this section right here. And so let's squeeze this guy and then push it out just a little bit. And you can see that now I could put some screws through here. So for the big slot, you'll use one of these little guys right here. This is an M8, and it'll go through the bottom. Again, make sure that this big slot has a washer there. And so you just put the nut on top of here, and the nut will hang on to it. Screw that guy on. And then you'll do just a regular M8 and put that through the inner hole right here. And then we're going to move to the other side, so you got to push the spring down with a little comfort grip. Takes a little bit of pressure to push that spring down. Let me just flip it over here. There we go. So push the spring down until it exposes the big slot and that hole right there. With the slot, we'll use an M8 with a big washer on it. And then for the hole, we'll just use an M8. And then repeat the same thing for the other side. And once you get it into position, put this thing back so that way it rides. So it's right in the middle of its adjustment. You can see that it's leveled up right there. So now I've got both sides attached, and they are still loose on the top, and from the seat base to the slider is also loose. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this thing over, and now you can see the bottom side. So you can see that we're in the first row here and the inner row here as well. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock these guys down. All right, so now check this out. Here is the assembly, and now these are still loose. Let's put on the lever mechanism. The lever mechanism should be springy, so it wants to spring outwards. And these are typically not bent in the correct fashion, but in the end, when these things are attached, these two arms need to be parallel. So what you could do is you could stick this in a vise and you could slowly bend it. So grab onto it with a vise here, so clamp it here, and then do that, and do it evenly on the other side as well. But check it out. So now we can install this thing. There's a little hole right here, and you shove this guy in like this, and these things will be kind of tight, and then you're going to have to use some strength and actually squeeze this guy over here. And if you don't have enough strength right here, you could always take a screwdriver and just kind of stick it in here like this. And you notice there's a little bit of spring in here, so align the hole. And then, if it's aligned properly, this should whack right in. And now if I push up here, this thing slides. Now we're going to take it over the seat and put these guys on. And then we will adjust all the little brackets and the little seat bracket right here. And then we'll lock down these 4 over here and these 4 over here. Okay, we're back at the seat again. So now I'm going to place this onto the seat like this. And then I'm going to position the side mount and put in each one of the 4 bolts. And I'm only going to do them where they are finger tight. Make sure that you put them in the exact same holes from left to right. So here you can see we're the second one here, second one from the bottom, and then if we go around to the other side, you can see it is second from the bottom and second from the top over here. Now we need to lock down the bolts that are holding the slider assembly and the side mounts together. But before you lock those things down, you want to make sure that you take the spacers and align them right here and right here. Obviously, if you don't have the spacers, this is not a problem. It's already aligned. And all you're doing is locking these 4 nuts down, and that's using a 13mm open-end wrench. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. You'd reach here, 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 and here. And then you have to do that again on the opposite side, over on the back side over here. But there's a spacer here, and the factory seat belt buckle bracket is right over here. So align the spacer and this bracket up real nice, and then you can tighten down the nuts right here, right here, right here, and right here. And again, 13mm. Okay, so let's check our work. I'm going to lift the lever up, and I'm going to slide the seat forward, and I'm going to slide the seat all the way back. And now we've got perfect sliding motion, and it's very smooth. So the other thing I wanted to tell you guys about was we're going to give you 4 brand new bolts and 4 brand new washers. And the reason why we do that is because the slider could hit the head of the bolt. So the bolts that we give you, they have a thinner head, so that way the slider will miss it when you're moving it back and forth. The other thing I want to tell you guys about is when you put the bolts in, this particular bracket was designed to be tight. So get all of them started first and then go from there. The other thing is, after you finish with that, it's going to take some time to readjust your seat. And what I mean is, these bolts over here for the slots and these holes allow your seat to rock, and you could adjust its height slightly. So that's going to take a little bit of time. Some people prefer a flatter seat where it's like this. Some prefer a little bit of a rock in it. It's all personal preference. Take your time, get it set properly, and then it'll be ready to rock and roll. So for those of you that are interested in purchasing one of these guys, hit me up on Instagram, or you can DM me on Facebook, or you can DM me on YouTube. This is AJ with Relentless Racing. Thanks so much for watching this video. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you guys following along on my journey. Please hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. And of course, stay relentless, and I'll see you on the track.